It's the FIDE World Cup knockout tournament and we're into round 3, game 2. It's the morning after the night before and I want to show you 5 finishes from this second game. So this is where players are getting dumped out of the tournament and it was all going on yesterday. So first of all, let's get straight into the action. Gukesh, world champion Domaraju Gukesh, playing against the German Frederik Svane, younger brother of Rasmus Svane. Frederik doing pretty well, rising in the chess world. So here we go. Gukesh playing white. Even material, but black has a space advantage. G4. Computer says this is still equal. But when your opponent has the initiative and the momentum, then it's not easy. So rook e1. I think Gukesh wanted to support this knight. He was worried maybe about an exchange sacrifice here. G3. So this is always very dangerous when your opponent has a nice pawn chain and that pawn on G3, if that pawn disappears, wow, white is in trouble. So Svane exchanged rooks. Now, this is a very nice move from Svane. Okay, time for our first think and drink moment. I'll have a drink, you have a think. What did black play next? This was a very, very nice move. Cheers. At the moment, everything's protected. This pawn protected by the knight. This knight protected by the knight. But with this next move, king e6, very nice. This makes room for knight number 2 to come in. Maybe to e3, maybe to h4, attacking that pawn. That's the weakie in the position. And now white is in big trouble. Gukesh can only wait. That knight hopping in. There are some checks, a bit of shuffling, bit of repetition. But now Svane finds the right idea. After knight g5 check, he played king f6, king e7. Now, you might be thinking, well, this is the same position as before. It is, but this time it's white to move, not black to move. So there was a little triangulation there, giving white the move. And white is in a kind of Zugzwang in this position. So that means whatever white moves actually harms his position. So for example, after knight g5, then the knight comes into e3 and that pawn is lost. Incidentally, not possible to play knight e3 straight away because of knight takes g3. See a little tactical trick. So that's why the move was lost, giving white the move. So if the knight moves away, then knight e3, that trick is no longer available. Very subtle. Gukesh exchanged and played the knight into e4. Hits the pawn, b6 covers the pawn. But this is still problematic for white. White again is in a kind of Zugzwang. Gukesh chose to play king d3. But he is lost in this situation. If the king goes back so that this pawn is protected, in fact, after king f1, knight d6 is a good move, forcing that knight out of the way, and then eventually e4 is going to come. But king d3 played, knight h4. So now this pawn can't be protected, and this is hopeless. The knight bounced back. Watch out for that g-pawn. And here Gukesh resigned. Well, you can see this pawn is just incredibly strong and they're all protected. And let's say the king comes back. Now black's king comes in. And then simply knight b2, taking the a pawn, and then this one will run through. So that meant world champion Gukesh is out of the World Cup. And well done to Frederik Svane, who goes through One of several German players playing it very well in the World Cup. Right, let's move on. Let's move on to Giri playing black against Alexander Donchenko. Their first game was drawn. Now, Alexander Donchenko from Germany, with good pressure in the position. You can see all these pieces active. His king could be better. And here Giri chose just to wait. He played Queen d7. In fact, this was a mistake. He should have played Knight e3. And after this, in fact, the king is too exposed. White can try an endgame, but black should hold that. After Knight e3, you can play King g1. But the knight goes back here. That's a clever move. And if knight takes, then this should be a draw, for example, after this. And even queen takes knight should be okay for black. King is too exposed. But Giri waited with queen d7 and f6 came, and this was fatal. He had to give up a piece. And, well, Donchenko had to step very carefully here. He's holding everything, so he's a piece up. So lots of checks, but in fact the king just stepped calmly up the board. This is very nice, actually. And now the g-pawn comes. Could be this advances. Queen c4, bishop came back. Okay, there could be a big check. Got to watch out for that. But also the queen could simply take this pawn. Queen f1 and now king e5, and here Giri resigned. So why did he resign? Well, white's pieces are completely stable. And the king can simply dance in and start cleaning up. Very, very nice. Or you could just exchange queens. So winning position for white. And yes, Giri resigned here. So Gukesh out. Giri out. I know Giri he's obviously he's already qualified for the candidates, but still, you know, he's ambitious. He wanted to progress. Okay, where am I going to turn next? Nodibek Abdusattorov. You know, he's top 10 in the world. But he's in a very unfortunate position. He lost the first game. Now he's playing Jose Martinez, Yospem, a blitz specialist, online specialist, who's playing very well here. So he beat Abdusattorov in the first game. So Abdusattorov in a must-win situation. And you can see he's gone for it. It's castled on the queen side, very risky. He's given up a pawn, so he's open lines. Now, could Abdusattorov strike hit knight f4? It starts getting very tricky. He's really going all in. Looks desperate. Now, if queen h5, then actually white defends with f3, and after the check on h1, the king is completely safe. But Abdusattorov comes up with a fantastic trick. He played queen f6, allowing the bishop to be taken, and then he played queen h6, threatening mate, and after f3 he came back with the queen. This is a very clever trick. Okay, I think we need another think and drink moment. If you were playing white, how would you defend in this position? Or maybe you want to attack, I don't know. But anyway, white to play. You have a think, I'll have a drink. Cheers. Well, there's a threat to take here. So, for example, if the knight jumps back, then check. If the king steps here, then rook h1. And if queen f2, rook h1 wins the queen. So that's the threat. Queen f2 is the obvious move, but in fact, white loses. This is the trick. Queen g5, threatening here. If the queen steps away, Then the queen comes in, queen g3. It's kind of slow motion attack. The rook is hit. Rook h2. And this pawn is very sickly. You can see that knight actually just gets in the way of white's pieces. It's really comical, actually. But there is a defense. There's only one defense. Rook e3. Not obvious. But Martinez found it. The best that black has here is to play queen takes d4. And this will end in a draw like this. Here, queen d2 check. The rook cannot interpose because the queen hangs. And the game ends in a draw. Of course, Abdusattorov saw that. But he knows that a draw he would eliminate himself. 1.5-1/2, he would go out. So he's still playing for a win, but now it's desperate. He's tried his big trick. It hasn't worked. And Martinez is in control. Excellent move. The knight spins back. And after this, again, really nice move. This could still be very tricky. King f1, excellent move. Very nice, because if queen takes rook, then the king is exposed and mate on b7. And if queen takes knight, then queen g7 check, and again there's check, and on the next turn queen b7. So Abdusattorov played the king back, but then another great move, knight f5. This knight comes back into the fray, breaks the communication. So if pawn takes, then queen takes is winning. For example, check. And when the king moves to a white square, bishop b7, and then you pick off the queen. Great tactics. So queen e5 played, and now the final move of the game, queen g7. Very nice. Whoops, threatening mate here. And if the queens are exchanged, well, white is just a piece up. Very well played from Martinez, spotting these really tricky tactics. So he goes through. Abdusattorov out. Gukesh out. Giri out. Abdusattorov out. The big beasts are dropping. Okay, let's move on to another. We've got Mamedyarov against Niels Grandelius. Okay, I think we have another think and drink moment. So you can see Grandelius has a pawn which is just one step from the queening square. Mamedyarov has two bishops and the queen stopping the pawn at the moment. And there could be tricks at the other end of the board. You've got to watch out for some nasty stuff here. But this rook is looking good, pinning the bishop. Okay, black to play. What did Niels Grandelius play in this position? Black to play. Cheers. Here's a cute little tactic to win the game. Niels played queen d3. So basically this threatens to get a new queen. Because when that's taken by the queen, then rook takes bishop check. And that'll unmask the queen. The queen will take. And there's no good defense here at all. If the king steps up, then queen f5 check is fatal. And yeah, Mamedyarov took here, but it didn't change anything at all. In fact, the king is completely safe in this position. So Mamedyarov out. So we've got Gukesh out, Giri out, Abdusattorov out, Mamedyarov out. The big guys are falling. Okay, what have I got next? Well, let's have a look at the game between, if I can find it, of course. That would be good today. Pranesh against Keymer. Now their first game was drawn. So a decisive game here. One of them would go out. Very tense game. Very closed position, a lot of manoeuvring. So Pranesh playing white, Keymer playing black. Now you can see that Keymer has the two bishops. Now they're not doing much at the moment. Rather closed position. But these knights aren't doing very much either. Because, well, they just don't have good squares to go to. The c6 pawn does a good job of covering these squares. And Keymer has been slowly outplaying his opponent. You can see that his major pieces control these open files, and that's crucial. And now he invaded with queen h3, threatening this pawn. His opponent took, and the knight came to a4, so he's trying to block out this rook. And with this dark-squared bishop gone, then Keymer's dark-squared bishop comes in and just is on fire on this diagonal. I mean, this is the square it wants to go to. So, for example, if knight takes b6, then queen g3 threatens a check. Yeah, let's show you this. So bishop e3 and queen h3's mate. So the king stepped out. Queen h2. So again, there's going to be a threat here. King e1, the king trying to run away. But I love this next move, bishop f8. So that bishop just switching diagonals. It was great here, and it's going to be pretty good on b4. Looks fantastic. Hassling the king. And white is lost here. So knight takes b6 played. Queen g3. If rook f2, then check. And it reaches another beautiful square. e3 was good, c3, wonderful, supported by that pawn. When you've got space and the bishops, this is what happens. When they break in, they look fantastic, and rook a1 will be fatal afterwards. So after queen g3, king d1, and now, okay, I'll give you a moment. How did Keymer finish the game? Very sweetly. Black to play. Black to play. Queen takes g2. Very nice. Rook a1 check. And a skewer. So when the king steps back, rook takes queen, and black is a whole piece up. When you've got space, when you've got the bishops, that's the kind of thing that can happen. And in combination with a rook on an open file as well. That was a great game by Vincent Keymer. He really outplayed his opponent little by little, understood the position beautifully, and Vincent Keymer on excellent form. So can he make it through to the candidates? It's very interesting. So, well, we saw there that actually we have 3 Germans going through into the 4th round. So we have Vincent Keymer, Alexander Donchenko, and Frederik Svane. And there's a 4th as well. We have Matthias Bluebaum, who's already qualified for the candidates, but he's through to the 4th round as well. In fact, we're going to see an all-German clash in the next round. We have Alexander Donchenko will be playing against Matthias Bluebaum. There we go. So we've got round 3 tie breaks today, Sunday. I'll report back on that one. But yeah, big names are out of the tournament already. It's really hotting up.